The Pittsburgh Steelers 5-game winning streak is over. They fall 24-19 to the Cleveland Browns tonight on Thursday Night Football. Welcome into the Bleav in Steelers postgame show. I am your host, Mark Bergin. I'll be sharing my thoughts from tonight's game. But first things first, today's episode is brought to you by betonline.ag. Now that NFL Week 12 is here, if you want to get in on the NFL action, betonline.ag is the place to do it. Over, under, spreads, player props. Head over to betonline.ag today to get started. BetOnline, the game starts here. Denzel Ward knocks it away on the final play of the game. Too little, too late, in the Steelers come up short in Cleveland on the road in a snow game. It was aesthetically beautiful to watch in the second half. Always love seeing football played in the snow. But the Steelers, they came out flat. 3 points in the first half is not going to get it done. And that, to me, was kind of the tail of the tape because Myles Garrett dominated in the first half with 3 sacks. They couldn't block him. And you're up against a deficit there. And it was one where the Steelers did take the lead in the second half of this game, but the Browns able to rally back and rely on their running game with Nick Chubb and company. But I just thought that the Steelers didn't do enough early in this game to be able to put it away. Now, weather was definitely a factor because on the Browns scoring drive for the go-ahead score, Corliss Waitman shanks the punt. It goes off the side of his foot, and the Browns have a shortened field to deal with. And the Steelers defense, which had held up for a good part of the game, they got an interception from Dante Jackson. They got a turnover at the start of the second half from Deshaun Elliott, but the defense not able to hold when you need to get a stop. And Nick Chubb had 2 touchdowns. Jameis Winston jumped into the end zone too, and they're able to get it done and snap the Steelers' 5-game winning streak. And this is a Browns team that plays the Steelers well. And remember, they also beat the Cleveland Browns. So even though Cleveland's only 3-8, remember, they play the other teams in the division tough, and they're able to get it done. And what ended up kind of being a classic game due to the snow. I wondered in the first half if the elements were a factor, and it was definitely a factor in the second half of what the two teams could do. Chris Boswell proved that he is, in fact, human. Missed only his second field goal of the season, a 58-yarder, so still a really long attempt. But it shows the importance that the Steelers need to score touchdowns and not settle for field goals in this game. I liked how the Steelers used Justin Fields in his packages to use him more and more in his legs and his running ability, particularly because throwing the ball was a challenge. Russell Wilson connecting with Calvin Austin III for the touchdown for the go-ahead score. It was 19-18 at that point, but then the Browns marched down and get the go-ahead score and what ended up being the clincher. I think it was in the first half too, Russell Wilson had a moon ball to Calvin Austin III, and if he catches Calvin Austin III in stride, it's a touchdown. The ball was underthrown, and so while it flips the field, that's an example of an opportunity where you have to take advantage of something like that. But it was kind of a crazy game too. There were moments in this game where David Njoku could have scored a touchdown that's knocked away by Patrick Queen, and the strip sack fumble by Nick Herbig off the edge. He's getting his opportunity filling in with Alex Highsmith out. I thought the Browns did a really nice job tonight too of neutralizing TJ Watt off the edge. I know a lot's made of the TJ Watt, Myles Garrett debate. Well, tonight, Myles Garrett was the better of the two players, and I really thought that the Browns did a nice job in neutralizing what TJ Watt can do in a football game. And I thought Garrett, just in that matchup, a lot's made, the same draft class. I thought Garrett was the better of the two tonight. And so those are kind of my thoughts. The Steelers will try to regroup here in this coming week. They'll have extra time to prepare for the Cincinnati Bengals on the road again. So you've got yet another AFC North division game. But again, too little, too late. again, I just thought that the Steelers dug themselves too big a deficit. Only 3 points in the first half. They scored 16 in the second half. If you could at least even get another score in the first half, you're talking about a different outcome in this game. So Russell Wilson, 21 of 28, 270 yards through the air. He had a touchdown. He was sacked 4 times. The Steelers ground game, 11 carries for Jaylen Warren. He had 45 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Najee Harris, 16 carries for 41 yards. So the Browns defense did a nice job of bottling Najee. And then Justin Fields, 3 carries for 26 yards. 30 of those came on a long run. So that's why you've got Fields out there. But Fields isn't just a gadget quarterback. He's not a one-trick pony. So I get that you want to incorporate him into the game. I'd like to see him throw the ball a little bit when he's brought in for some of these different packages. Calvin Austin, the third, 3 catches, 78 yards, had a touchdown. His long was 46 yards. Pat Freiermuth, 4 catches, 59 yards. He caught all 4 of his targets. George Pickens, 4 catches for 48 yards, 7 targets there. Van Jefferson had 2 catches for 39 yards as well. And so those are kind of the stats. Nick Chubb, 20 carries, 59 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns. His long run was only 7 yards. And so the Steelers limit the Browns. Browns had 27 carries, 85 yards in today's game, and their long run was only 9 yards. So I thought the Steelers defense actually did a nice job bottling the Browns running game. But I'll tell you what, Jerry Jeudy for the Browns kind of went off in this game. 6 catches, 85 yards. And I thought he was a true difference maker for Cleveland tonight. The Steelers dominated time of possession too. They had the ball for more than 35 minutes in this game. And they also outgained Cleveland, 368 yards of total offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight, 304 for the Cleveland Browns. But the Browns able to get it done late despite all of these things. And the Steelers also won the turnover battle 3-1. So that recipe of how the Steelers have had success this season, it just was not enough to get it done in tonight's football game. So those are my thoughts. We're going to get to what Yins think where we bring in viewer comments. You're able to call the show if you'd like to air your grievances. If you're frustrated after tonight, you need some therapy, you need to let it out. Tap the link that is tagged in the YouTube comments. You can call into the show. I'll go through some of your written comments right now. And then also, if you leave a super chat in the YouTube channel, I will read your comment if you feel so inclined to financially support the Bleav in Steelers show. Let's get to what Yins think. Chad checking in, and this is a great point. Chad says, Najee Harris averages 2.6 yards per carry in the snow, ? Man, if that ain't the truth, and if that ain't the truth, considering he's in a contract season, and you've had back-to-back games now with Najee where he's kind of gotten contained a little bit after the 3 games before. He had 3 consecutive games of at least 100 yards on the ground. But 2.6 yards per carry for Najee Harris. Oh, man, Jaylen Warren was the better runner tonight. There is no doubt about that. And that's the reason why I think he got the ball down the stretch. And even at one point in the game where the Steelers go for it in their own territory on 4th down, it was Jaylen Warren who got bottled and didn't pick up the first down. But Warren got that carry and not Najee Harris. Chad, thank you for checking in. Temple saying, just one of those games, Mark. This was the Browns Super Bowl. Definitely. I mean, the Browns have had an absolutely brutal season. You find out before the game where Kevin Stefanski, who I believe is a 2-time coach of the year, but you find out just before the game, the report that he will keep his job is what it sounds like. And he's a good coach too, but just about everything's gone wrong for the Browns out this season outside of beating the Steelers tonight and beating the Ravens earlier this season. Temple, thank you for checking in. Yancey says, joke. And I get this too, Yancey. Playing down to your competition. I don't know why the Steelers do this. It seems like the Steelers are always in 1-score games. Now, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers usually come out victorious because going into this game in 1-score games, the Steelers had won like 60%, 61% of them going into tonight's game. And look, you still have a pretty good record. A year ago, the Steelers fired Matt Canada, and I believe they've won 12 of their last 18 games without Matt Canada. So it's getting better. I just don't want to see a regression with this offense and 3 points in the first half. That to me is where you dug your deficit and you're trying to battle back the entire rest of the second half. That's just my opinion there. Yancey, thank you for checking in. Darth saying, I spent nearly that whole game angry AF. Yes, Darth Sniper, hey, thank you for checking in. I know you were not the only Steelers fan to play that way. Mr. Sywood checking in, talking about the receivers here, saying we need to play 18 more and 11 less. He's talking about Mike Williams, who you gave up a 5th-round pick for with the Jets, and Van Jefferson, who you brought over this past offseason. Got to learn the playbook, got to get acclimated, and you got to earn your snaps. So I'm sure there's good reason. And Van Jefferson had a key reception down the field in the second half of the game. I know he left the game at one point. He's got a nagging quad injury. But yeah, I would like to see more of Mike Williams, who you traded for on the day of the NFL trade deadline. I'd like to see what he can do in a contract season as well. And I know Van Jefferson's on a 1-year deal as well, but see what the young kid could do. He's got a little bit of size. Maybe that would have helped in today's game. Definitely want to see more of Mike Williams at the receiver position. Mr. Sywood, thank you for checking in. Alex saying, I don't know how we lost that game. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just the first half deficit where you're chasing that nearly the whole rest of the game. And special teams were part of it too. What's been a strong suit of the Steelers, think about this, the 2 really key plays for the Steelers today. In the first half, Boswell missing a 58-yarder. And look, like Boswell has been as good as there is in this league. 58 yards is no chip shot field goal, even for him or Justin Tucker. I don't care who you are. But then the botched punt by Corliss Waitman went off the side of his foot, and it creates favorable field position for the Cleveland Browns. I thought that was huge. So 2 really big special teams plays due to the weather elements, due to the snow. Think about this. Philip saying Mike Tomlin's 0-8 on Thursday Night Football. If someone else can check that in the chat, if that is true, I'm sure that is, but that's actually a pretty incredible stat. A lot of people checking in. Alexis saying peace, Steelers Nation. Alexis might be a Browns fan. Alexis, thank you for checking in. Autumn saying it's all right because we'll see the Browns again. They have to come to Pittsburgh and we're going to beat them at home. Autumn, I like your optimism. And yes, the Steelers and Browns will play later this season on December the 8th. So here in just a few weeks' time, I know the Steelers have the Bengals next week, and then the week after that, they'll have the Browns again. So the AFC North gauntlet that you're going through for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you got to win the division games. They carry almost a heightened importance compared to your other regular season games. Autumn, thank you for checking in and watching here on the Bleav in Steelers postgame show. Temple agreeing with Autumn. Temple also saying it's tough to play a team with nothing to lose. Every drive was 4-down territory. Yeah, and that happens when you're chasing the clock, when you're chasing a deficit, and then also not converting the 2-point conversion where you get a 3-point cushion and maybe the Browns settle for a field goal, but then they're down 1. They go down and score a touchdown, and at the end of the game, you've got to try to go down and score a touchdown of your own. And I at least credit Russell Wilson for giving his team a shot, throwing the ball up there. Denzel Ward knocks it away as time expires in the game. So you're probably not going to get that even under pristine conditions, let alone when it's snowing like crazy. It was fun to watch aesthetically. I thought that the snow was absolutely beautiful tonight and added to my enjoyment in the second half of what was a pretty frustrating first half. Yeah, Temple saying I don't think that's accurate. 0-8 on Thursday Night Football on the road, not overall. I would need to double check that stat with Mike Tomlin in his record on Thursday Night Football. I'd need to double check that. If anyone else has that handy, feel free to weigh in the chat. Temple, thank you for checking into that. I appreciate that. But yeah, those are just kind of my thoughts. I'll be honest with you. It's late. I'm probably going to wrap here. I'm not seeing anyone else that I want to get to. If you have questions after the fact, leave them in the comments. I do my best to respond to a lot of them. I've got one more thing for you here too. Late in the game, Steelers waste a second timeout at the 2-minute mark after the penalty. and a long stoppage ahead of the third down play. So you waste a second time out there. Then the Browns only need a field goal to go ahead because you're winning 19-18. Why don't you just let the Browns score from the second and goal from the 2? Because if not, they can just run out the clock and kick a game-winning field goal. And then at least you get the ball back with more time at the end of the game to move the ball down the field. A little bit of questionable decision-making there. And again, I think the snow adds another element to all of this where you can't just automatically rely on your special teams for either side, but some clock management there that you'd like to see get shored up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And ultimately that falls on Mike Tomlin. But all things considered, Pittsburgh's 8-3. And I think even your most optimistic Steelers fan would be thrilled with that record through 12 weeks of the season. Now, you can't lose back-to-back next week against Cincinnati. You've got to go take care of business now. But those are just some things that you can shore up on. And again, it's punching it in the end zone and scoring touchdowns. And maybe you see more and more and more of Justin Fields in that capacity because his ability as a runner. But I don't want him just to be a one-trick pony. If you're going to use Fields, you got to demonstrate that he can throw the ball too, and he's not just a glorified running back there, because he is more than that as a quarterback. But that's what I saw tonight. And Russell Wilson's moonball, there were times it was magic tonight, and there were times where it was like, man, just not quite enough tonight. Just not quite enough tonight if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's see. Temple, this will be the last comment I get to, saying, also thought it was odd to take the illegal touching penalty at the end. I'd have given them one play on fourth down. Yeah, I don't know there. I do appreciate your comment, Temple. My name is Mark Bergin. The Steelers' 5-game winning streak is over, and they lose tonight to the Cleveland Browns 24-19 on Thursday Night Football. If you enjoyed this show, go leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Appreciate all of you watching tonight live here on the Bleav in Steelers post-game show. We'll get you ready for NFL Week 13 this coming week. Enjoy the rest of the Week 12 action. So I'll be back sometime early next week to get you ready for Steelers and Bengals. My name is Mark Bergin. Thank you so much for watching. Have a terrific night. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care, and so long, everybody.